Finish off with the skin. That's a fairly small chapter. A large organ, but not a big chapter. Early joints. Oh yeah, make sure the candies keep floating around. Yeah. Make sure that don't hoard the candy. We don't want to take it back home. Oh, please. I know it's nice how they cheap up on the Wi-Fi here. All right, so the skin, the integumentary system, covers our external surface. On the top of it, or like the whole surface of it, are many layers of epithelial cells. They're called stratified, squamous, keratinized epithelium. Holy cow, that's a name. Stratified means many layers, not simple. Simple is one layer, stratified is many layers. I don't really know the name itself, I just know it means that. Squamous means the shape of the cells are flat fried eggs. They're not cubes, they're not column, they're flat. And keratinized, we'll talk about that. That means there's a hardened, waterproofing protein in it. And epithelium means the type of tissue. It's that cellular type of tissue. So anyway, that top layer of the integumentary system protects us against danger coming from the environment. Top layers are dead cells that simply fluff off when we bump into something, for example. Underneath is underneath that we have a connective tissue anchoring the top layer to the tissues below, which is adipose or fat layer, the subcutaneous fat layer, that fat. Can you name the three layers? Dermis, epi, and that, right? So we have the dermis on top, the epidermis on top. Epi means on top of something. The dermis underneath that, and then below that the subcutaneous fat layer, or we call it hypodermis. You did what?
I didn't do this. I didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't do that one? Well, then just do it now. It'll be okay.
Is it in all modules there?
It's the same module.
Oh.
Did nobody else see it either? Okay. Okay. You just do it now. That's okay. It's a small chapter. So epidermis on top, dermis below, subcutaneous fat layer. Remember, epithelial tissue is basically rows of cells. It doesn't have extracellular components, which is part of the connective tissue. You know, that's the calcium in the bone, or the blood, the water, the plasma in the blood. In the skin, the epithelium tissue is stratified, which means it consists of many layers. The bottom layer anchors the epidermis to the underlying tissue, which is that dermis. It's very regenerative and constantly produces new cells, which then are pushed upward towards the surface, slowing down the drying out, and surface which they are slowly drying during that process, accumulating keratin, which makes them hard and waterproof. So keratin you associate with waterproof. Or the leather jacket. It's a leather jacket. The keratin makes it the leather jacket. Match the four main. Oh, did you like doing this way? This is the first one like that, right? Took me this long to figure out I could make questions like that. Stratum basale.
Cells constantly divide.
So that's where the cells constantly divide. That's the basic. Basale is basic. There we go. And then the spinosum.
Cells accumulate.
The pre-keratin, right? That's where we start. We start accumulating that keratin thing, which is ultimately what makes the skin, or that hardening thing, the waterproof. And then we have the granulosum. not quite to that yet, right? They're deteriorating. And then the last one is, where that? There you go, the dead cells. Good, you got that. Excellent. And look, when we go here, we got, oh, I love these fingernails. Don't you like these nails? SpongeBob. I know, it dates me at this point, right? Here are all the layers listed up, and then here is the visual for it. We also have a stratum lucidum in the palms of the hands and the sole of the feet. So that's why you notice the palms of the hand a little different than if you tap the top of the arm. So that's that hardening. But there's a lot of friction and all that. We have that extra layer, that stratum lucidum. Good, moving right along. The main cell type in the epidermis is keratinocytes. Guess what? It secretes keratin, that protein, that hardening protein. Other cells concern themselves with transforming touch and pressure from touch and pressure into a nerve's impulse. They're pretty cool how they do that. They're like structures looking like this. Like this here. Like, it's almost like layered, a cell with layered membrane around it like an onion. And as it compresses and you physically press, those layers touch each other, and that sends off a nerve signal, an impulse to the brain. And the brain, it goes to the brain in a place in the brain, and then the part of the brain is wherever you press on is located. And it fires up and says like, oh, that means we got touched right there. And then that's the interpretation of the brain. But you have these nerve endings in the skin that transform touch or pressure into a nerve signal that the brain can interpret that. Other cells are designed to protect us against the UV light, the sun, and then we have so that's one. That's the one that makes the skin browner or less brown, and then another cell type protects us against invaders and actually macrophages. So that's the immune system part. So we have all those cell types there. Can you match them? What are the mechanosensory cells? The Merkel, angular Merkel cells. I know, that only works in Europe. Yes, melanocytes. And then the resident antigen ones, or which one? The other ones, right? The long John cells. Long or Hans? Hans means John in German, and long means long, so I call them long John cells. Long or Hans cells. Well, you know, you've noticed this, some of the anatomy, terminology, and physio is very sensible, and then others is just people's names. And so that's like, you know, then you just got to make some goofy stuff out of that. It's all an ego question, I think. So the Merkels are the touchers, the keratinocytes are the ones that make the leather jacket, the hardening, and then the melanocytes. Where's the melanocytes? The melanocytes are these ones. They have extensions, and the extensions here, they processes. They have extensions with granules in it, and they go and cover over the nuclei and make the other cells protected from the UV rays, because UV rays go in and they damage nuclei. They damage genetic material, and we don't want that damaged. And so that's when we go out in the sun, you know, the rays are UV light rays. The melanocytes make more melanin, so our skin gets darker. Or like mine, sunburn or something, you know. But that's what the melanocytes are here for. And then here are the long John cells. That doesn't really show you much, except these don't show you much, except the fact that you associate that with antigen presenting, and macrophage, that's a white blood cell. So long John's is your immune system. You associate that with that. That's a nice shot. Okay, next. It's not a mango or anything. The underlying dermis is connective tissue, which has a few important properties. For one, its extracellular matrix contains fibers, which prevents the skin from tearing. Well, that's good. peg-like projections on top of the dermal layer increase the surface area to help anchor the epidermis into the underlying tissue. What are those top dermal layer called? Papillary layer. So does that make sense with the surface enhancement? So when you have these wigglies here, they're all three-dimensional. So they're all like pegs coming down. And so that up and down on the valley, that makes a much more surface area than it goes flat. And so it anchors it better. And then below that we have a reticular layer, they call that, and then that anchors the dermis into the subcutaneous fat layer. That's the insulator we got. And then underneath that, well, we have more tissue, and then muscle, and then so and so on. But the body comes in layers. You always want to remember that. The body comes in layers. So like if you dissect, very often what you do is you cut a little and then you go and unlayer the different layers. But that also means if you have a cut that goes deep, a surgery or so, you're going to get a scar and a little bit of a lesser mobility of these layers past one another. So that could be a pulling force, for example. So I think that's kind of good to know how that works. We learn from the immune system chapter, the first line of defense is the skin because it creates a boundary keeping the bad stuff from really bad stuff, from entering the body. Can you choose all the functions of the integumentary systems that apply? All of them. There you go. I made my point. And I do like the pig. But it's pretty, it's a pretty good system, and I do like this too. When I made this, it's so funny. I have like all these places where I look, making these booklets, and like I look for pictures on Google for hours and hours and hours. And so all these like come in, and this is like an old friend of mine looks very similar to that. I'm like, oh, I gotta use that. So I always get reminded of different parts of my life that I liked. So that's kind of funny how it just creeps in. But those are the functions of the skin. So there's a lot of them: protection, immune function, temperature control, water balance, sweat. Sweat is salty, and then sensory function, communication as well. So that's cool. Have you ever wondered where sweat comes from, or what it actually is? Well, it comes from from the sweat glands in you. Can you name other skin glands that we have that secrete more of an oily substance? Sebaceous gland. Sebaceous gland. So that's your natural lotion. Sebaceous gland. I know there's a thing I had. Well, it's kind of important. It's back to the pineal gland. If you just always like, I remember my first wife. She used Vaseline all the time on her lips. It's like, but the lips then always were dry. I'm like, well, I guess the body doesn't need to make oil anymore if you use all the oil from the Vaseline. And of course, the funny thing was, and so that was kind of because it does work that way a little bit. There is body stuff like that. The body decreases its function if you do it from the outside. And of course, the funny thing is our kid, she had the big Vaseline, the kid had the small Vaseline next to her. So that's funny. But anyway, have you ever? Then that's this one, and then the last one is the hair is absolutely cool. I know. When I shave my head, or actually, when I shaved my head, I got really sunburned. That was in Thailand. That's like I was 20, not even 21, and we shaved our head. I think we're so cool. We're gonna go with the guitar around the world or something, and we go, let's just jump in the ocean for a hot minute, like 20 minutes, and 3 days later we like peel the skin off. Because it's like, how dumb, you have hair on all your life. It's as white can be. I'm as white can be, or I call it pink. Have you ever wondered why white people should be called? They should be called pink people. Because most of us are pink. But anyway, then when I started cutting it to this level more, that's when I started hitting the head all over the place for a while, because the hair sort of has the damping. It's not just physically the damping, is you're actually feeling when the hair bends. If you close your eyes and somebody else touches you but doesn't touch you, it just touches you, yeah, you feel that. And so that's really, really cool. And then another advantage is that the hair does in furry animals, like you look at a cat in danger, it runs away, but then sometimes they don't. They just stand there and the hair goes up. They get furry, they get bigger, and they get more dangerous for other animals. And so that's also kind of cool. And so when we look at that, particularly then we look at our own arm, the hair comes up in an angle. It's about a 45-degree angle, and then it can stand up. Now, if my hair stands up here, I don't know if you think I got much more muscle underneath and you're scared of me because there's not that much hair. But if I were all furry, it probably would do that a little bit. And so we need then for the hair to go from a 45-degree to a full standing up, we need something to pull on it, and that's a muscle. And then the muscle is attached to the skin and to the hair shaft. And the pulling on the skin gives us the goosebumps. That's where goosebumps come from. What's that muscle? Erector pili muscle. There you go. Erector pili muscle, right here. That little thing right there. Good, and I think that's probably good enough. Well, we got the nails. The nails are really cool. That should have actually been a question maybe for the concept. Why do we have nails? You know, the first time I started wondering, why do we have nails? Or I just watched a movie and this guy wanted to pick up a little thing from the floor and he like had to do it really fast because his woman was going to kill him or something. And he's like, yeah, if you don't have nails, man, you can't do that. So that backstop is kind of pretty cool that he does that. And then we can draw or play in Vera, which is also kind of cool. All right, I think that's good. Any questions to that?